Welcome back. Tuesday not only marked the kickoff to primary elections across the country, it also marked the 50th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1964. And on this historic anniversary, which eliminated literacy tests, poll taxes, preventing African Americans from even registering to vote, some would argue that we still have a long way to go, and I'd be among them. This map shows you all the states that have recently imposed new voting restrictions like voter ID laws just in the last 4 years. Analysts say voter turnout across the country yesterday was very low. Maryland officials say only 21% of registered voters cast their ballots, marking the lowest voter turnout in years. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, he's getting a surprising applause from Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. This happens once every millennium. And Reid praised Paul's move for introducing legislation granting nonviolent felons the right to vote in federal elections. Reid said, as a country, we should allow people who have served their time, who have served their penance, or however you want to state it, they should at least be able to vote. And the Times columnist Charles Blow says that voters are dealing with political fatigue. Blow goes on to say that voters can't afford to get frustrated and check out. We have to ask ourselves if frustration is part of the plan. And if you vote isn't valuable, why are so many working so hard to take it away? As I showed you here, the rules are getting tougher and tougher in certain parts of this country just to cast your ballot. And I want to talk about, I guess, two parts of this. The public's fed up. They're fed up with the, intransigence, the dysfunction that's Washington, the gridlock, whatever adjective, whatever word you want to use for it. They just had it up to here. And they think, what's the point?
And they should.
But it's interesting. They blame almost across the board, all of Washington. They blame Congress, who has the lowest approval rate, I think it was 7%. The president, who's got the lowest numbers he's had here in terms of confidence they can actually get stuff done. They got a little bit more than 50-50 for cops, and 3/4 of them believe in the military here. So for me, do you think we'll see a time here where the public will look at Washington differently than now, or is it just, this is the way the game's got to be played? Just tear down your opponent, and that's the only way to get things done, or not done.
I wish you would have started with Andrew because I don't want to be so negative and be a pessimist about this. But I will continue to say until the day that I die, until we find a way to remove money from politics, we're going to be dealing with a bunch of crooks, a bunch of slick con artists that are in suits in Congress. That's what they do. And Richard, as far as the trying to clamp down on the voting, I call this the Obama effect. The establishment wants to make sure. I mean, this good-looking brother came out of nowhere, out of Illinois, shook up Bill and Hillary Clinton, was in campaign finance, and then raised more money from mom and pop and grandma with little $5, $10, $15 donations, shattered fundraising records, and this good-looking, articulate as his vice president. Clean, right. And so he turned out votes. The political world they just weren't used to this, filling football stadiums in Denver and so on. And I think the establishment has said to themselves, can't go down this road again.
I agree with Dominic, the genesis of this, but long after Obama is gone from D.C., and I think he won't look back in the rearview mirror, right? But when the president's long gone, we have on the books, just give people at home, if you can, an idea of some of the backroom deals to make it hard for law-abiding citizens to do their protected right of just voting. We always castigate people for being lazy or uninterested in the political process, but even when they want to get involved, look at what they do.
The easiest one to recognize is the voter ID law. This says you have to have a federally recognized photo ID in order just to vote. And that's
a remedy without a cause.
Well, absolutely. They say it's for voter fraud, but the majority of the people who fall into that group who wouldn't have that ID tend to be minority voters or voters who are on the edge, who would all be solid Democratic voters for the most part. They would also tamp down immigrant voting.
But they shut down even early voting, right?
Early voting also, which tended to help the poor or the people who are in lower economic positions.
After Sunday services, they'd go, right?
Because it's hard to find time out of the day when you're making an hourly wage to go vote. So Look, that gamesmanship has been a part of our politics forever. There's always going to be that sort of gamesmanship going on where one side tries to keep the other side's voters away. I think it's despicable. And the fact that it's so much based on identity, whether it's ethnicity or whether it's income level, is problematic. As for the popularity of Congress, that's cyclical. I mean, there have always been times where
I want you to be
popular
right
and,
here.
and unpopular.
I just don't know
the
what's going to
problem
get a
now
lot
is that
better.
I wonder if the balance has tipped too far because of the money and because of the business interests that are in politics.
I got to go to break, but the reason we're talking about specifically the challenges of the roadblocks put in front of people to just try and vote is it's going to be a bigger deal this fall than you realize. I'm telling you now. So, Citizens United, we talked about it last time. People said, oh, it didn't have that big a deal. They're figuring out how to do this. I'm talking about big business and huge deep pocket folks here that will have a huge impact on this election, as will voting rights. It'll be a bigger issue. You're going to turn around, trust me, in November and say, what the heck happened? It's happening. Not so much in our neck of the woods, but in a whole lot of other places. Now, join our conversation. Head over to Facebook and Twitter and sound off on our question tonight. Have you given up on politics and politicians? And I'm hoping the answer is no, but if it's yes, I'd like to know why. Okay, coming up next, there's a shakeup at the anchor desk. ABC's Diane Sawyer says she's stepping down from World News Tonight and passing the torch on to a colleague that most of you have never even heard of. We're going to have a look at the change in the face of evening news and the so-called voice of God desk that is no more. Stay with us.